as I was getting ready to hit high school, my parents was going through a divorce. As they broke apart, it broke me. I turned my back from my family, and who was there to welcome me with open arms? It was the streets.
What's up, family? It's your boy, the King Coach Crump, with my boy Chizzy.
What's going on, everybody, man?
Shit.
Welcome. Always
man.
a pleasure, man.
Boy Man King podcast. We got a special guest today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, man.
Yeah, this one of those ones that's kind of like personal.
Yeah.
It's personal. In the words of the wise theologian Coach Prime. You know what I mean? This episode's personal because this is a brother who he's mighty but meek.
Jeez.
Right?
My goodness.
So Noel, relentless motivation, entrepreneur, leader, husband, just leader of men.
Yeah.
Man, the list goes on and on. Speaker,
Writer.
social media guru, you know what I mean? Podcaster, like, bruh, welcome to
Yes,
Boy Man
yes,
King,
welcome, man.
the man himself.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Yeah, man. So talk to me, man. Like, first and foremost, kind of give the people a little bit of insight on our relationship dynamics, how this came apart, and the role you play with Boy Man King.
Man, so 2023 wasn't it? I joined Next Level Speakers Academy.
Yeah.
Coach Crump happened to start doing a coaching program.
Okay.
That particular coaching program changed my life, first of all,
Yeah.
because it was a pivot that I needed to become the man that I'm becoming now. Because I was isolated.
Yeah.
And I've been isolated for so many years.
Yes.
So got into the coaching program, and then he mentioned he was doing a podcast.
Right.
So God put it on my heart to reach out to you. So I was like, man, I'm gonna do it.
Sure.
So I did it, and it's been history since.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so to give even more context, I'm a coach at heart. It's what I do. It's what I've always been doing.
Yeah.
And I, like anybody, my coach consultant hat, I tell people it's capacity and infrastructure, but I look at efficiency and effectiveness. So it's like I'm looking at the program and I see people want to be speakers. Everybody want to be speakers. They want to speak, but I'm like, you have a personal development issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was either they had a personal development issue or a business strategy issue. And a lot of times it was both.
Right.
So I said, listen, we're trying to train you how to be a speaker, but if you don't know how to do good business and if you're not a good person, it ain't going to work.
Right. Yeah.
And so I said, well, look, let me do a mixed cohort of brand new people who just joined, people from the academy, people from the mastermind, people from the inner circle, people that experience, man, woman, black, white, East Coast, West Coast. They didn't know that I had like made a mixed group, but I like wanted like a mixed group to see like these 90 days, just give y'all some game and see how it resonates with y'all.
Okay.
And it was a resounding feedback of like, Coach, thank you so much. This has changed my life.
Sure.
But at the same time, I'm like, where do I take all this information that I just, kind of gave to them? And it was part of my curriculum that I had, but I still needed support, gaps in my business that I'm like, I got these ideas, but I can't pull this stuff off. And me and Chizzy, you talk about this.
Yeah.
And I was able to learn his heart in those 90 days. I knew he wanted to be a speaker. I knew he was an entrepreneur. I followed his content. He had his own pod. But it was like his heart. People ask me for help all the time. Right. I'm at a space now where people are sending stuff to the DM. You see it on the regular, but it's like, I don't know your heart, bro. Like, one thing I love about you, Chizzy, we talk about this all the time, is I remember you not being in my life. And like the distinction of, and we talk about this, both of you guys in this space, like that whole Robin to the Batman.
Yeah.
That whole, I don't need to be seen as a man, even though I'm still a man. Like, you guys fly in those spaces where other people really struggle and feel depressed and feel not validated.
Yeah.
What is the secret sauce, Chizzy and Noel, to being a Rodman and being really dope to building something bigger than yourself and not getting the limelight attention all the time?
Yeah, I mean, for me, So let me just speak a little bit to my relationship with Noel. Amazing brother. We met as a result of Boy Man King. Obviously, we talk, and now we talk all the time offline on a number of things. My struggles with my kids, his struggles with with marriage and life, and my struggles with my ex-wife. So I've learned to really, really appreciate the friendship that we've learned. I want to openly tell you that on Boy Man King that I really, really appreciate. I'm talking about 12 o'clock at night when most people are asleep. I know if I reach out to him, if he's awake, most times he is awake working on some things.
Stay up late.
Yeah, man, he's going to respond. So I just want to start by saying I really, really appreciate you being available. And that's a segue to answer your question is I see it in him. I see it in myself. We just want to be here to serve and to give people, to be a resource and be supportive from the background. It's not about, there are some people that are called to be in the front. And I talked about this on the podcast, like this is probably the first time for me in a long time I've been in front of the camera because I'm used to, obviously you've been knowing each other for 20 plus years. I'm always sort of the nuts and bolts of whatever's going on. To me, that's super, super important because really as you elevate yourself, and I'm not saying you, but anybody that's in the public eye, as you get elevated in that particular way, you need people in your circle to keep you grounded, to keep you stable, to be loyal to the cause. So for me, what keeps me going is the fact that I'm okay with just being a support. I think I've called to just be of service and to be of service not just to you, not to Noel, to the podcast, but to men in general. And I just see that is a blessing. I say sometimes it's a blessing. I'm blessed to bless others in that particular way. So I really, really, really love and thrive in that space because I think part of my personality, some people might disagree, that I'd like to believe I'm kind of low-key and reserved. You may disagree sometimes. But I enjoy just knowing that I can do whatever it takes to make the event, the philosophy, the movement just work and continue to move in the background. That's just me.
I really want to highlight, in the sense of like, we got this platform, Boy Man King, and you're like the glue.
The glue, bro.
That's holding all of this together that nobody really knows. And that don't matter. Like, doesn't matter. Like, I really want to hear from you because you're supporting us personally. You're supporting us professionally. We're supporting you. Granted, it's a mutualism there. Yeah. But you're doing a lot of the work that we're just providing content. Sure. And then me and Chizzy are back, whatever. But there's a lot of management and production and quality controls that has to happen and troubleshooting that you have to do to us together and to us individually. So, but you're great at it. So talk
amazing.
Talk about that.
Well, I say it goes back to being a teenager.
Yeah.
Because I used to, y'all know this, but everyone else don't know this. I used to be gangbanging and stuff. Yeah. But in the midst of that, because you mentioned glue, I was the glue for the guys I used to hang around. Because I wasn't just hanging around gangsters.
Yeah.
I was hanging around the pretty boys, the ones who would crack jokes. I was hanging around everybody, and I was the glue in the midst of them. Because I knew this guy, and we brought them all together. Not to mention, I was also in the marching band.
Okay.
And even you mentioned playing the background, I wear different hats. I'm a firm believer because I'm a leader, but I'm also a firm believer because everybody wants to be a leader, but nobody wants to serve. The key thing to being a leader, you have to be able to serve.
Yeah.
Because as a leader, even on my jobs, dealing with my staff, I have to still be able to serve them. Sure. What do they need? How can I help them to be the best that they can be as their leader?
Sure. Man, you mentioned it just now. And like I said, I've known you for the last few years. When you tell me that you used to be involved in gangs, it blows my mind. Not because I don't see you in that particular way. And I'm not trying to kill your street credibility or anything like that.
Don't let the humbleness fool you.
Hey, when you say that to me, I'm like, there's no way this guy is such a humble spirit, a giving spirit. There's no way this guy's...
And I see the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I totally get it. You know what I mean? I see it and I totally relate because I know what it's like as a man to have a whole nother side of you that you have decided to kill, that you have decided to control, that you have this, but it's there. Sure. So I'm always interested to hear, even Kai, you, like, it doesn't matter who it is. I'm like, bro, I know it's another side of you, bro. Yeah. Like, to live in this world as a man, it got to be another side of you.
There was a great man that said it. I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
Yeah.
and that's me though. Yeah. Anybody that I'm around, I'm always in protective mode. Okay. If I consider you family, ain't nobody gonna mess with you.
For sure.
I'm not a violent person anymore, but in my glove compartment, there's what I call Nina.
Nina and Amina. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm like that with my staff. I remember one time we thought we had a student with a gun on campus, and I told all of my staff to hurry up and get to the break room. I was in a safe space because where my office is, it's not in the midst of the dorms. Sure. Where did I go? I went right down there in that break room with them. Yeah. Because my mindset was, if that shooter came down there, he gonna come for me first before he even reached them. Yeah. Because and that's the protection mindset as a man. Right. But even as a man, I had to learn balance too. Sure. So, I was always in that protective mode, but one thing I'm learning now, because I've been so big on trying to protect my wife, protect her, but I had to learn I had to protect her heart too. Yeah. That is one of the biggest keys that I'm learning in this season of my life.
Right. I love it. So let's talk about your life.
Yeah. I was gonna say, let's backtrack a little bit. Yeah. Growing up, Atlanta.
Growing up, country boy.
It ain't country now. Don't disrespect Macon like that.
Listen. I don't let you flex your Macon muscle for 2 years, but you're on the pod now. And I was like, respect because of the friendship. Yeah. I'm going to let him rock out like Macon's a city. But let me tell you, for those who've been to Macon that's not from Macon, it is not a city, brother. But it's a nice town. Okay. That believes it's a city. But continue.
It's always been that big debate between Atlanta and Macon, so I'm gonna let you have that one. So
there's no debate, but continue.
Well, I mean, whatever.
Georgia.
But from Macon, surrounded was gangs. Yeah. I never had the intentions of even being in the gang. In fact, I begged my parents, don't send me to Southwest. Send me to private school or something. Unfortunately, they couldn't afford it. Yeah. So as I was getting ready to hit high school, my parents was going through a divorce. Okay. And as they broke apart, it broke me. Yeah. Wow. And like I like to tell other people, I turned my back from my family to my family. And who was there that welcomed me with open arms? It was the streets. And a lot of people talk about drugs as an addiction. The streets was my addiction. Wow. Because it was the love that I was getting from the streets. It was the respect that I was getting from the streets. That was an addiction in itself for me. You know how hard I was trying to leave? But every time, man, it was times I came to school in Stacey Adams. And if you knew me back then, everybody was shocked because I was always Dickies and Chucks. Okay. But I came to school. I said, man, I'm changing today. This is it. I came to school in Stacey Adams. I walked home.
No, for our viewers, right? Stacey Adams got a little modern swag to the shoes in 2023. But in 93, you know what I'm saying? Like back in the 90s.
Damn snakeskin boys.
You know what I'm saying? Like those are church, those are deacon. You know what I'm saying? Are you telling me that you was going to high school in some leather suede crocodile?
Wasn't nobody fit to say nothing to me though.
Okay, but I want to put it in context because if you go look at Stacey Adams today, he got some different modern options. Wasn't no modern options in the 90s. Like Stacey Adams was Stacey Adams. So you was rocking Stacey Adams at school,
man.
bro?
My Stacey Adams was clean, man. Don't. Even Snoop Dogg made a song about Stacey Adams back then.
Okay. I mean, what did they symbolize a certain status? No. Stacey Adams?
But church shoes in high school, bro, in the 90s.
Oh my God.
Bro, it's a big, you was going to public school? Were you,
Around that time, Snoop Dogg came out with that song, We Stay on Point Like Stacey Adams.
Right.
He made Stacey Adams for a gangster. He was trying to change trajectory of.
yeah, for Don Juan in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? But you wasn't no pimp player. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to follow the story. I'm
As
like,
we digress.
you know what I'm saying? Like if you had a cane and you was limping, you know what I'm saying? But
Point being, you was trying to switch it up. In high
Yeah, I was
school,
trying to
man.
make that change.
Trying to make that shift.
But it wasn't happening because it was my drug.
Yeah.
You know,
Dopamine.
that was how I was dealing with my hurt.
Okay. What hurt are you referring to? The
divorce.
split of the split of your
divorce.
parents. Yeah.
And you know, I love my mama, but me and my mama, we was at ends with each other.
Right.
how old were you? You said 14, 15?
About 15, 16.
Sure.
So, you know, and she was, and I understand it now. But at the time as a teenager, I didn't understand this.
Right.
She was hurting too because she had this child. She just did not understand. She did not understand how to help him.
So did you have? So once your mom and your dad split, dad did he live in the area? Did he move to a different
He was
state?
on the other side of town,
But you
he
guys
was,
never interacted as much.
No, he was still present.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad was still, and he is a smaller guy than me.
Sure.
Funny joke. It was one time I tried my dad.
Yeah.
That was the last time I tried.
Sure.
Well, I may try it on one more time, but it was still the same result. Again, my dad is smaller than me.
Right.
That small man picked me up and body slammed me that time I tried him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I was bold enough to try it one more time, but I ain't tried it another time.
Try him again.
Nah, absolutely not.
So you talked about these things, like when you say you was trying to change, streets kept calling you. What happened for you to leave the streets?
June the 4th, 2003. And matter of fact, I had a dream before it happened. I had a dream of a drug bust where we used to sell drugs at. Well, it was just me, really. And it was at that moment, the police knocked on the door. They opened the door, they came in. God said, turn to me or else. And and the police didn't want to believe that it was me that was selling.
Right.
Because I was also, in some ways, sneaky too.
Right. Unassuming.
So it was, God told me to turn to him or else.
So, okay, prior to that, do you have a relationship with God?
I was I was at one point going to church. Matter of fact, they wanted me to be president of the youth department.
Right.
I left the youth department when they wanted me to be president. I ran from that responsibility and ran straight. That's when I ran to the streets. Wow. And speaking of church, because the church doesn't know how to fully minister to boys or men. No one could minister to that hurt that I was experiencing as a young boy.
Yeah.
Because by the time this, I'm trying to timeline this, but 2003, that was the same time you was asked to be the youth president.
No, it was around when I was about 15, 16.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because you like 20 at 2003, you like 20, right?
2003, no, 19.
19.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you got that experience. The drug bust happens. Now what you do?
Man, I surrendered to God.
No drug fund, no prison.
I went to jail.
Okay.
Got out that same night. I ended up doing they sent me to boot camp. I spent 2 months in county, and then we went to it's like a detention center, but it was boot camp because of my age.
Right.
So I spent my time there, and I was in between. Let me back up. I got sentenced November the 4th. In between June the 4th and November the 4th, I spent a lot of time with God and knowing who He is.
Right.
November the 4th, once I got sentenced, bro, it was like wherever I was, it was like the church.
Okay.
Because guys would come to me, and I didn't recognize it then, what that was, but guys would come to me for advice, prayer, all kind of stuff. When I got to the boot camp, man, I never forget this time. We were sleeping in like these big tents, It was like big tents, it was built like a house, but it had the tent cover. and we was playing tent versus tent basketball. Me and one of my friends, the guys that was in the tent with me and him was the coaches. So we betted, we put up stamps. You know, stamps is money in jail. Right. I knew I was going to lose all my stamps, and I had a doggone lot of stamps. I lost all of my stamps, but in the midst of that, I began ministering to the guys there because I told them I knew I was going to lose. And I started ministering to God. By the time I was finished talking to them, the whole camp was standing there listening to me. Jeez. The respect that I had in that boot camp, and there was another guy, he was a Crip there. And I used to try to talk to him because he had beef with this other blood that was in the boot camp. And I was trying to talk to him, man, let it go. Matter of fact, one of the homies that I used to chill with on the block, he went to the same boot camp with me.
Okay.
I tell a funny story about the boot camp because it's just like going into a military boot camp starting off. Me and him sitting in the van, we was like, all right, cuz we saw how they did the previous van. We was like, we're gonna say sir, yes, sir, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And we're gonna get off this van. Man, them Negroes opened up them van doors. They jumped in that van, and the way they was we was shook. Bro, we couldn't say one. We didn't know what to say. We forgot we was going to say, sir, yes, sir. This Negro screaming in my face and all this kind of stuff. Yep. I said, yo, never again. But we ran off that van, and then we had to do the monkey dance.
Okay.
Man, if anything else made me not want to go back to jail, that was it.
Listen, I know when I got arrested for shoplifting, man, I saw the holding cell. I never forget, Felicia brother Tony was like, yo, Crump! I was like, sup? I played hard, bro. When they all aggressively gripped my fingers, I had one thought in my entire mind, right? Do not put me in that holding cell. Literally, bro, all that, you snitches get stitches. I would say whatever y'all need me to say to not go in that holding cell. Bro, I was like 15 years old. They didn't have a juvenile holding cell. I don't know if people know that in county. It's just a holding cell for prosecutions, whatever. But it's whoever got arrested
on that day.
That day or for the whole weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
So it could be any type of anybody.
As I'm going past to get processed, bro, they're like leaning up against bars. So like Tony's like yelling, yo, yo, Crump, what up, fam? But it's like dudes everywhere. Tony's 18. I'm like, bro, listen to me. Whatever you do, like process me and send me to my mama, bro. Like outside, bro. Like for real, bro. I was scared straight from jump, bro. I was like, I'm not a thug. I'm not a Crip. I'm a good guy. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I'll get my life together immediately, bro. Like, bro, yeah. For everybody, it don't take a lot of experience in that regard to shock the fact that you got to make some different choices.
Yeah.
I'm trying to process the timeline only because obviously you're gang affiliated, involved. Then you get that one incident with the police, and it doesn't take a lot. Although that was a major experience.
Nah, bro, don't get it twisted. I had a lot of other encounters with the jail, but I was able to charm my way out of it. I used to tell them to check out my next CD coming out soon,
right?
All of that kind of stuff. So they was flowing with that.
Okay.
And you talking about from when your parents' divorce happened and you decide to go to the streets. That's like from 14 to 21. That's like almost 7 years. So yeah. Being in the street influence back in the day, I'm from the South, so y'all Macon's, 3 hours, 4 hours up the street from where I'm at the same era. I know it's out there. You know what I mean? Like I grew up in that. So, and I grew up people avoiding it because I could shoot. I was a hooper, and you know how it is in the culture. If you got game, the streets making sure nobody bother you and that you never get involved. Okay. I don't know how the rules are now. Right. But back in the late 80s, early 90s, the streets was very protective of me.
Wow.
There wasn't the streets didn't never try to influence me. They always was like, yo, keep Crump away from this because he can make it out of here. You know what I mean? Like that always was the energy. It never, so I seen it, and I grew up around it. But my cousins was adamant about keeping me out of it. You know what I mean? Because they was like, keep hooping, bro. You'll be all right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And as in that field, in that lane, I had that same kind of respect for people that was behind me, because I had a baby brother who was my stepbrother, but we called him my baby brother because everywhere you seen my dad, you seen him. So anytime he would come to the house, I would be playing my rap music. I'd be probably playing GTA. I would turn it off because I didn't want him to see that. I didn't want him following in the same footsteps that I was following. My middle brother, I didn't have to worry about that with him. But I didn't want to give my baby brother that reflection,
Right.
because I knew what came with it. I knew the paranoia, the having to watch your back. And I didn't want him to have that life that I was living.
Sure.
So,
So go ahead.
well, like, so you go through this. You have that camp experience. You have this spiritual awakening. You have this conviction from God. You in your early 20s now. What's now? Like, now you're making a decision to do what with all of that? You go through what would you call the tent? You had like a boot camp, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you go through that temporary, like all of that, but you know for a fact God spoke to you. You did some work with God while you was inside.
Yeah.
You outside now.
Because the
You got
streets
God.
ain't forgetting none of that. The streets ain't gonna forget
So now
who
what?
you was before you had that awakening. You know
Well,
what I
it
mean?
was a struggle for me. Don't get it
Yeah,
twisted.
yeah.
Because in my mind, I was thinking, man, you a punk. Because I had current beef that I was leaving behind.
Right.
And it was in my mind. I was struggling with that. You a punk for leaving this behind.
Okay.
Oh, you really gonna leave all of it, man? Look at you. You had all of this beef. Now you just gonna leave. It was a fight.
Right.
And I'm learning as I'm getting older now. We talk to men, but we don't talk to men that came from that kind of background, because there's a different kind of struggle
Yeah.
that men from the street kind of background deals with.
Yeah.
Because we dealing with this, not only the struggles of being a man, but also having that past.
A socialization that comes with it.
Yeah.
That over time, you kind of have now you're trying to change all of that. So up until you're 20 years old, you function in a particular way.
Yeah.
The ethos is very different. So when you make that shift, so my question would be, like, what was your network like once you got out and you made the transition? Like, how was that? Like, how did you continue to develop yourself spiritually post once you made that decision? Like, what did you have to do intentionally to ensure that you didn't kind of regress and go back to the streets?
Bro, for one, when I left, I was done. I had my battles. Bro, I wrote the judge a letter before I even went to court. I told him, if you saw me in there again, you can throw the book at me.
Right.
And I told him I wasn't coming back here. So, but to answer your question after that, I became a minister. I was in college. Okay. In college, we had an organization called Student African American Brotherhood. We had the Pretty Boys. We had some gangsters in there. We had guys from different aspects. You know who the glue was? It was me, because I was the big brother in the midst of all of us.
Okay.
It was me that was keeping it together. So, and then I left from there. Then eventually, bro, I left the church.
Right.
It was men in the church. I could relate to them a little bit. It was men that came from the same background I was at, but they still wouldn't minister to that man back then. Yeah, you overcame this, but teach me how to overcome this. Because sometimes I really struggle with this. Sometimes I don't want to listen to all of the gospel music. Sometimes I really want to just listen to Tupac or Brother Lynch Hung or something like that.
Right.
So show me how to move from this, because it's a struggle for me to not feel like I'm some kind of punk or something.
Right.
Yeah. That masculinity in the spiritual spaces, to be mentored, is always a hard, especially back in the day. Like, those resources and networks wasn't readily available for people to even know that they exist. Because I even know the stuff I'm a part of, people are like, I never knew this existed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as you're doing that, is it a aha moment that you feel like, hey, I'm a man now? Or, like when did that ever happen at this point?
Yeah, when I ministered for the first time, my dad was there. The moment he told me he was proud of me, and he hugged me, it was at that moment I felt like I was a man.
Wow. How old were you?
Then I was probably about 22, 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. So you've been an ordained minister for almost 18 years.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But you have one of the things I love about you have a love-hate relationship with church.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Man, I left the church because I started looking at church. The same people that I was asking to pray for me was also talking about the same situation I was asking you to pray for. And I'm at this point in my life now, don't pray for me if you're going to talk about me because you're contradicting your prayers.
100%.
And I started looking at this and I was like, man. And when I was on the streets, I knew what to expect from guys. I knew
There's no hypocrisy in
it's
it.
the potential that this guy was going to turn his back on me. Matter of fact, it was a guy, in our inner circle that set us up.
Yeah.
So, I knew what to expect from guys on the streets, but I didn't expect that from the church.
Right.
Yeah, that church hurt is real.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people out there who struggle with that because that prohibits a lot of people from actually coming to church, being involved, because similar to what you're saying, they see it to be the hypocrisy. And, the wider community sometimes holds church people in a higher regard. As they kind of should, then they come in person because you don't really expect.
But it is unhealthy.
It is 100% unhealthy.
To be a devil's advocate, right? It's like, I remember I was with a particular person and I let them in to see the pastor live in space. And the pastor was having his hair down and they left and they was like, man, I see him. I didn't realize that he was basically just a normal person. Like,
Right.
I can't see my pastor like that because it messes with me to follow him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, he got a calling on his life. He got an assignment, but he's human though. I said, I support pastors and leaders because I know what it's like to be, lack of a better terms, dehumanized.
Right.
You can't be human because you have an anointing when really you struggling like everybody else.
Yeah.
It takes, you got to get to a place, and we talk about this. We talk about this a lot, maturity-wise, spiritual-wise, where you look past people's faults because no matter what their title is, no matter whether they're in or out the church, everybody's struggling with sin.
Yeah.
Right? And so it leads you to say that people that have responsibilities and leadership as their struggling, I would say give them greater grace to grow and support and prayer because they're under more attack. You know what I mean? Because I even feel like it's hard for you to see it when you first minister in your 20s and somebody's talking about the stuff that you confided them in. But when I got to a place where I'm like, when people start doing stuff like that, start praying for them, I know you're really struggling, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? For you to be caught up in gossiping, you're a grown man, or for you to be tick for tat with somebody, like, it's actually just saying that I'm struggling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I had to come to that realization for pastors and stuff and understand that they're human just like me.
Yeah.
And you're right. We should pray for them even more because they have their struggles. And then when their struggles are out in the open, everybody is attacking them. We talk about, they threw stones in the biblical days, but we still throwing stones today with our words.
Yeah.
And then we wondering why this pastor is committing suicide or, and this pastor is doing this. It's because he's struggling, because he or she is struggling. They're hurting.
Right.
And nobody's there to help them. Nobody's there to see the human and say, you know what, I understand and I get it.
I want to go ahead.
And so for the individuals like ourselves who are kind of on the inner circle, and I'm going to say inner circle in that we kind of have a level of understanding on how to be supportive to those people in leadership, because like we said, they struggle with it. What about the people on the outside looking in? How do we encourage?
Well, let me say this first. I think one, I want to thank you and Noel publicly for supporting me. As a leader. And then I have the experience. I have the reference points and the experience of watching y'all.
Yeah.
And we operate. It's why I operate men. And this is no shade to nobody else, but there's a loyalty thing with us.
Yeah, 100%.
Like ride or die energy is actually very important to men.
Yeah.
Like men are big on, I don't want to have, some things don't need to be explained.
Yeah.
When I'm with you, that's all you need to know.
Is a given. Yeah.
And I rock with people who I know got that DNA. Y'all got that DNA.
Facts.
Yeah.
I brought that DNA to Jeremy to say, like, bruh, I know what it's like to be a leader and not have ride or die energy, not have somebody who you know
Right.
got your back, that you got to double take and you got to like, man, are they selling me snake oil? Like, I was like, nah, I've learned to be a great support system by having a great support system and not having one.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who are on the outskirts, you really got to ask yourself, have you ever been in that seat in leadership where you're responsible for a lot of people and helping a lot of people get results? Have you helped somebody when they were down and out, when they was weak, when they was lost, when they was discouraged?
Yeah.
Who you know, man, you are responsible for a lot of people. And even though you're making a mistake or you're down, I'm going to cover your back for a while until you get back on your feet, because I know the assignment that God has on your life. Like, I'm covering Jeremy because and you guys can speak to this, because it's levels to it. I'm a leader, but I ain't on Jeremy E.T. And I'm like, I ain't trying to be like, when you watch him at 3:00 in the morning and doing this, I'm like, I ain't trying to be that. I'm not trying. Like, when you get close to him, you may have some ambition outside watching from a fan, but when you get close to him, he's like, nah, I don't want that. Because it comes with.
I was gonna say, like, the attacks are greater. Your apprehension to have people in your inner circle probably gets greater too, because that trust factor, like we have heard, and we talk about it all the time. We don't do no goofiness. No matter what, at the end of the day, the loyalty and the nuts and bolts of what makes this work is what has to maintain it, no matter how great this thing becomes.
Yeah.
And so to be at that level, I can only imagine what it feels like, or what it's like to look around you and say and wonder, okay, who's really got my back?
Yeah. It's a scary thing. As a leader who didn't have it for years at one point, I'm not mentally even at my job. I'm not even mentally my best. So I try to, like, I really appreciate you guys, because I know what it's like not to have it too. Right. You know what I mean? And it is a whole, you're operating in your adaptive mode the entire time.
Right.
Well, and I say this, and I don't think I ever told you this, but when we start working together, I start watching how you covering Jeremy, but then I start realizing, okay, but who's covering him? So, and as your brother, that's where I see the gap. I got to cover my brother in prayer. And naturally, if somebody come at you, like I said, ain't nobody gonna mess with family.
You already know.
So, and that's loyalty to me.
Yeah. So man, this is good.
Hey, man.
Yeah, and I think as we work together, because we're all part of something that's bigger than us. Like and you guys, thank you so much for championing something that's now impacting thousands. We get to see it in real time. We're getting DMs and emails and like, we're getting the testimonies now. We got the live in-person event. Like, it's getting to a place where it's like, man, we're almost at that tipping point where it becomes a machine. It becomes something that we got to bring on more people and more volunteers and more staff. But at this point, as you're working to help be the glue of something bigger than you, like, what is your vision of not only Boy Man King, but being your best version of yourself? Like, what does that look like? What does that look like for you?
Man, working with Boy Man King, this is a brotherhood. And I do see more men coming into the fold, because I know exactly, before I even met you guys, you guys had no idea how much of a blessing y'all been to me, because, and Demont and my boy Red, because I was isolated. I didn't have any brothers that I could talk to on a daily basis. I had my one best friend, and he's busy on his doctorate degree, and that's a whole nother task in itself, and I respect that.
Sure.
But when I'm struggling, who was there that I could be transparent with? I learned how to open up, because I was never opening up either. I was a very private person. But to tell you guys into my struggles, to be in that safe space, the journey, even my current journey right now, the struggles that I've been going through, man, and I may not say nothing all the time, but you guys pick up on it.
I know. Yeah.
So y'all don't learn me enough to know, something's going on.
It's time to talk.
Yeah. Check in.
So and I appreciate that, because y'all won't allow me to get back into that isolated bubble that I'm used to.
Yeah. I think it's important as men that we all. When I reached out to you last week and we had that long conversation, I was like, oh, that's not Noel. He would never do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I instantly knew, my mind didn't go, what's wrong with him? My mind said, no, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
He would never do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, like any man, oh, I'm good. No, you're not. Because you would never do that. So let's talk.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And we got to care enough about each other to be like, bruh, if you with a good person, you with a good man, like you got a good man in life, and they do something that they wouldn't do,
Uncharacteristic of them.
you got to pull it to the side like, bro, talk, get that out. What's going on? Let's process that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every man has those moments.
Yeah.
Sure.
But we got to have men that care enough to be like, bro, holla at your boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And every group of men needs it. It's vital. It's a lifeline, bro. It's a life. It's not even like it's an auxiliary thing that you might tap into sometimes. Every day, all the time, because as we know, as a struggling man trying to be the best version of yourself spiritually and for your family, like you need that. It's a lifeline. It's a lifeline, and I'm appreciative of it. Trust and believe more than probably we talk about.
Yeah.
Like even coming down to record and being here, we guys talk about all the time. I need those fixes. I need that because I need to go back to wherever I go in Canada and Bermuda and be filled up so that I can continue to do what it is that I do and to work. Yeah. So it's vital. So for the brothers that don't have it, bro,
Come on, man.
the isolation.
Yeah. And that's why we have this platform.
Yeah.
Hence the reason we have this platform is to give them something to be like, the guest, bro, we love the work y'all do. Men need space like this. So, man, for all of y'all who's been supporting the Boy Man King podcast, you got to see some of the team members who behind the scenes, and K Noel has been one of the ones.
Appreciate it,
who he's the glue to the team. And so, bro, on behalf of Boy Man King, man, we really appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Yeah, man.
And as
Let's
any
keep it
man
going.
As any man would say, man, the journey continues.
Journey continues.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.